Welcome to Canadian Culture Club. I am your host, Emma, and in today's episode, we're going to be talking about the average child's journey from kindergarten through secondary school in the education system across Canada in general. If you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss an episode of Canadian Culture Club. Here we help you prepare for your move or settle into Canada by talking about daily life, Canadian education, work, food, all of the most fun parts of Canada and the most useful parts too, like in today's episode about education. So, like I said, today we're going to follow the overall Canadian journey from kindergarten to secondary school. We're not going to speak about particular provinces or territories today. We're going to talk about what they have in common, except for Quebec. Quebec is so different, it's a very unique province, that we will probably do a separate episode for Quebec. So consider today's episode a good overview of all the other provinces and territories in Canada. Let me know in the comments if you would like me to do an episode specifically about Quebec. Elementary school. Elementary school essentially covers kindergarten, so junior kindergarten, through grade 8. Let's talk kindergarten. Kindergarten is 2 years. It includes junior kindergarten and senior kindergarten. Most kids start junior kindergarten the September after they turn 5. There's some flexibility there, and that's especially true if your child is born in the fall. So you might choose to send them when they're technically 4, turning 5, or wait the year and send them when they're 5, turning 6. You can get really specific advice from the school board and also consider what's best for you and your family. It's ultimately your decision. After kindergarten, we have primary school. Primary school generally covers grade 1 to grade 8. You'll notice that in Canada, we don't say first grade like they do in the United States. We say grade 1. This is true regardless of the grade. And instead of saying 9th grade, we say grade 9. Now it's time to talk about the concept of middle school or junior high school. We said primary school is usually grade 1 to grade 8, but sometimes we break it up, especially if the school would have a huge number of students if they put everybody from grade 1 to grade 8 in the same school. There's also some advantages to having much older kids with much younger kids. They're great mentors. They can be reading buddies who read with them on visits to the library, but there's also a huge difference in their age, their maturity, maybe power dynamics. So there are some advantages as well to having them in separate schools and being with people who are closer to their own age. So if you do break up primary school, you could have middle school or junior high school as part 2 of primary school. Middle schools cover grade 6 to grade 8, and junior high schools usually cover grade 7 to grade 9. Middle school versus junior high school is generally determined by the province or territory, which one is more common. For example, here in Ontario, I've only ever come across middle schools, not junior high schools. I went to a middle school myself, so I went to one primary school until grade 5, and from grade 6 to grade 8, I went to a middle school. I also see this breakup of primary school into 2 halves being far more common in public schools than in Catholic schools, at least where I grew up in the Toronto area. I knew a lot of kids who went to primary schools that were Catholic from grade 1 to grade 8, no division, and tons of people who went to the public school system, like the secular school system, like me, who had to switch schools halfway through. Now these words, secular school, public school, Catholic school, they're really important depending on the province that you are in or the territory that you're in. So I would strongly recommend that you watch the first episode of Canadian Culture Club, or you listen to it if you're on the podcast version, where we talk about the basics of education in Canada. We talk about things like the school year and the division there, the holidays, but we also talk about the different school systems that some provinces have. We go into detail, for example, for Ontario, for how we divide it into English secular, English Catholic, French secular, French Catholic schools. So if that sounds new to you, or, oh, I need to understand this, go to that video. It's super, super clear. Or on the podcast version, make sure that you look for the link in the description of this episode, and you can listen to the first episode as well. Secondary school. Generally, we use the term high school to talk about secondary school in Canada. Secondary schools usually cover grade 9 to grade 12. Like I mentioned before, if you went to junior high school, you might actually go up until grade 9. So maybe your high school starts in grade 10. But for most people, their high school was grade 9 to grade 12. Note here that we usually use the simple terms grade 9, grade 10, grade 11, grade 12, and we don't use words like freshman, sophomore, junior, or senior that they use in the United States to talk about these different grade levels. Most Canadians understand what they mean, partly because of the influence of American television and movies, but we don't usually use them to refer to our own school experience. We just use grade 9, grade 10, etc. Now remember, if you want to learn more about the Canadian school system, including when do we have school holidays, when do report cards go home, make sure you've watched or listened to, if you're on the podcast, episode 1 of Canadian Culture Club, where we go over all the basics. Did you like today's episode? Make sure you have subscribed to us on YouTube. Hit the notification bell as well so you never miss an episode. We talk about Canadian life, from work to education, from politics to history, from the way that we use our language compared to the way Americans do, compared to the way that the English do. It's really, really a fun place to be. So build the Canadian Culture Club with us by making sure you're subscribed on YouTube and subscribe to the podcast version wherever you find your podcast. What do you want to hear next about Canada? Let me know in the comments below. And just before I sign off, if you're curious, this sweater is from my brother's business, which is called Giver Hockey. It's a hockey training business based in the Toronto area. So if you're curious, I'll also put the link to his business in the description of today's episode. Giver Hockey. Thanks for stopping by Canadian Culture Club, and I'll see you next time, eh?